Hi guys, welcome. My name is Amanda for those of you that are new here. For those of you who've been here before, welcome back again into Friends and Family. G'day. Okay, something different today. So you know I like to make sausages and I've done that for you guys in the past. But what I haven't shown you is how to make deli meats. And you know the rolls of chicken or Devon or even chicken breasts that we would buy from a deli that are really expensive to buy these days. I remember when it used to be $2.99 a kilo for a chicken roll. It's not that anymore. We're going to make it, and we're going to make it with really simple ingredients. So I'm just going to be using chicken tenderloins, breast tenderloins that I picked up at the Golden Cockerel factory when I picked them up last year, and they were 3 kilos plus for $5. So it worked out about $1.30 something a kilo, you know, not very much at all. And I've put it through my mincer that I have here as well, and I've ground it down so it's a really fine mince. The same mince that I normally use when I'm making sausages, but this time we are going to be making a chicken roll instead. And to that, all I'm going to add is, once again, my favourite seasoning, just an all-purpose seasoning that we've made up. Popping it into the chicken, and then it goes into the press, and that's what I need to show you guys also. So this here is my meat press. So if you can't make sausages for whatever reason, whether it's too difficult or you can't get the casings or you don't want to get the casings but you want to make something similar, that's what this guy is. And we just need to boil this really easy. So we are just going to pack this full of our flavoured meat. You can make any different flavours you want. This makes a beautiful mortadella, just saying. But there's lots of options when it comes to the different flavors that we can make, and you can adjust all the seasonings. It won't have all of the additives that it normally would have. You can control the fat, you control everything. So this is why I like to make this up. So this here is what we're going to be using to compress our meat down in it. It's so simple. You're going to wish you could do this. And you can. This is a meat press. I think you can look them up online and find them. This one comes from what was our local sausage supply place. You know, there's one at Capella Bar, Green Living Australia. Used to sell them as well. Barbecue places will sell them. Pretty certain you can get this online. Let me have a look around and I'll see if I can put a link in the comments as well, because this piece of equipment has been around for donkey's years. It's just one of those just kitchen stables, I guess, that just hides in the back until it's ready to be used, and we're going to use it today. So let's get on to the chicken roll. I'll show you how simple this is. This is approximately, I'll weigh it, but it should be a kilo. The meat press will take between sort of a kilo and 1.2 kilos is sort of its capacity. What do you weigh? 1.1, that's perfect. 1.1, but there's a little bit of liquid in this. I'm just going to drain off. All right, so we're just over a kilo. Now, when I put this through the mincer, I put it through really fine. If you don't have a mincer, you can use a food processor or a blender even. The point is we just want to blend it up, and then I just add extra water to it, and that makes basically a meat product turn into a sausage mince. Or you can already buy pre-made sausage mince, either pork, beef, I think you can get as well, but this one happens to be chicken. To that, I'm going to add my seasoning. This is enough seasoning whenever I make these up, is enough to do a kilo of meat. That is a kilo of meat, but I'm just thinking, do I err on the side of the caution? Yeah, I'm just going to add about, a bit over half. We can always add extra seasoning to, you know, whatever we make with this, but we can't take the seasoning out once it's in there. And this is going to be for a child as well, you know, for a baby. Then all we got to do is blend that together. Again, just going to use hand, and because it's chicken, I am going to wear gloves just because I want to stay a little bit clean today. We'll try. Don't expect to stay clean for long. This is something that does need a little bit of planning in advance, so to speak, because it's got to be completely chilled after it cooks. Cooking process, really simple. Pot with boiling water in it. That's it. Other than that, don't need to do anything except let the chicken roll or your meat, whatever it is you're making, your deli meat, come back down to cold temperature for 24 hours. So I will be getting this into the fridge tonight, and then I'll come back after it's completely chilled down and we'll slice it up and we'll have a look at it. Pretty simple. Okay, this is my canister. Needs to be oiled ideally, so I'm just going to spray a little bit of the avocado oil into it and just give it a wiper over. Makes it just a little bit easier to get out the roll later. But again, if you cook the chicken, if you cook meat, it shrinks, it doesn't swell. So it usually is pretty easy to get out. But I still will oil that. And then we just got to pack it. It's that easy, you know, it's easier than making sausages. So because this is mince and because it's quite a thin texture, I'm just going to put in a little bit at a time. And then I'm just going to, using my hands, pack it in to make sure that it is well compressed and there's no air pockets anywhere. It's a fairly liquidy mixture. It's not a dry mixture, put it that way. So I'm just going to pack that through and just continue until we get to the end. No different to when I would be packing to make sausages, but instead I'm packing it into here. So I'm just going down to make sure I've got no air pockets anywhere in the cylinder and then filling it back up again. Okay, so that is my kilo-ish of meat. Now, it doesn't matter that it's not compressed yet. It will be compressed when we add the spring. Just tapping out any air, you know, feel like I'm doing some canning, making sure I've got no air bubbles in there, debubbling the meat instead, as you do. All right, this here is the spring that needs to press down. So I'm just going to oil that because it will sit on the surface, and I'm just going to slightly add a little bit of oil to the surface of that as well. And then we simply get our spring and we pop it like so because it will compress down. Okay, we're going to take our lid, which we are going to set that spring into now, and then we simply need to lock it in place. Just takes a little bit to get the notches to line up. Again, not hard. That's a notch there, that's a gap there. So just pressing it down until we get to the same spot, locking it in place, and it's locked. That's it. Need to get a saucepan on. I'm just going to put my thermometer in. Thermometer goes all the way down, and the aim is to get that to 70 degrees, and it takes about an hour and a half or so depending on the temperature of your mixture. This is cold, so it will take probably just over an hour and a half to cook this. So really simply, I'm just going to use a water bath canner, a large stock pot, anything at all. Don't need to cover the product because remembering the meat is being compressed down, so it is below the height of this guy. But that is just a water bath canner with enough water so that it sort of covers the meat, but it doesn't have to completely cover it. That's it. All I need to do is monitor the temperature of this guy, and when that reaches 71 degrees Celsius, then it's cooked. Takes, like I said, a good hour and a half. I'm going to speed up the process ever so slightly by just putting its lid on, because it would take a while for this water to come to a boil, which uses a lot of power. So I'm just going to put the lid on, bring this up to the boil, and then I will just keep an eye on it. Alrighty, we'll come back once this is completely cooled and we can slice it up. For those interested to see how do we go about making a deli meat. Alrighty guys, it's the next day and it has completely cooled down. This is our deli meat that I'm going to be unboxing, showing you what it looks like on the inside. So I've run it under the tap to loosen the inside of this canister as well. So this is ice cold. So because the meat has got that gelatinous fibers on the outside of it, you know, the stock, it gets a little bit sticky. So if you are going to be using one of these guys, I would suggest running it under the hot water or sitting in a hot basin for a little while, just a couple of minutes, just to loosen the outside to make it easier to decant this as well. And then it's just a little bit of effort, I guess, to get these things out. So it means that I'm just going to have to open this up and show you. Now I've used the chicken tenderloin, very low in fat, and I haven't added anything in addition to it. When I do pork or beef, I usually do add extra to it. All right, let's just get something just to help with the removal of this. All right, so I'm just taking out the thermometer. Okay, so that's out. There's quite often a little bit of liquid in these as well, and if there is, I'm just going to take it over to the sink and just drain it out. I'm just going to go and tip out the extra stock that's in this. you know, because we've cooked meat, so there's those meat juices that's in the canister. So firstly, we're just going to get out our spring. All right, again, sometimes they can be a little bit difficult to get out depending on what the product is that you've made. If it's something that's got a lot of fats in it or oils, you may end up with a lot of mess on them. When I do the chicken tenderloins, they don't end up being so messy all the times, but it all depends on how much fat your meat's got. Alrighty, so in there, that is our chicken. We just need to get it out. Okay, so I'm going to put paper towel beneath it to get any of the extra liquid out of this as well, just to save making a mess. And I'm just going to shake it around. I can feel it moving around. It just takes time for the suction to disappear, and eventually the meat will come out as it is. And this was 1 kilo, or just under. Now, I used my water basin, my water bath canner for this. I should have put the rack underneath it. Looking at that, obviously, there's a little scorch mark on there from the bottom of the element. But altogether, it's not too bad. If you just ignore that bit, which I'm going to slice off anyway, which is fine. So that's our seasoned piece of chicken meat. I'm just going to dry it all off, make it easier to slice and handle. And I'll show you a bit closer what it looks like. So I've used a seasoned blend, so there's thyme in there, some paprika in there as well. But it's completely chilled, it's holding together fine. Like, that's not loose at all. Holding together without having any additional fats or anything like that added to it, just straight pure chicken meat, which is a lot healthier than buying the, you know, the varieties that you would get at a deli, for example, that have got a lot more fat content in them, not to mention sodium. But at the end of the day, it's got to be able to be sliced and it's got to be able to be enjoyed by the family. So I'm just going to take off that bottom piece. If you've got a meat slicer, that would be fantastic. And I did have a meat slicer for many years until recently, and the blade ended up getting damaged, and so it was too expensive to replace. Perfect. Alrighty. That there is our 100% pure chicken, other than the seasoning and the spices. And I can't taste this because it's chicken. Now, I know who can, Bilbo, but he's not going to be able to tell me what it's like. But I mean, I know he's going to eat that. Alrighty, I'm going to slice this up a few pieces, take some down to my son, get him to tell me what it tastes like. But I know that it's going to be a lot better for the family to have something like this than it would be to buy the chicken that's already pre-cooked, for example. You can do this with any meats. You can do it with a ham if you want to do it with a ham. But it is pretty nice. All that perfect chicken in there, you know. And it'll be perfect to go on flatbreads, get sliced up onto sandwiches, rolls, kebabs, you name it. So much healthier than all of those other processed meats. And you've got complete control over what it is that you are making. This has been made with an all-purpose seasoning, so not any particularly strange seasonings in this one, but just a beautiful seasoning blend. And that's our chicken roll that's been sliced up. Very simple, and like I said, saves us a lot of money. So not only do I make my sausages as well, but this is another way that we can also still have the foods that the family enjoy, but not have to be reliant on the supermarkets, and having a lot more control over the food that are consumed. So the additives, the preservatives, all of the different artificial flavorings, for example, all removed, and a much healthier product can be made in just a matter of moments using this very simple cylinder, a spring, putting it in a water bath canner and cooking it. I should have known to put the rack on the bottom for this one. All the others, I'd never normally thought about it. It's always just been in my canner. I removed it to clean the canner and just didn't even think to put it back in when I was cooking this off the other night because, you know, I'm tired. It's been a long week. But there you go. That's our delicious meats. Can you imagine that with pickles? You know, because you could. All right, so just thinking of the different options, the different ways that that could be used. Worst case scenario, it's going to go on a sandwich and at least it's going to be enjoyed because it's a lot more flavoursome and saves us a whopping amount of money, because the chicken itself, which is just the soy binder tenderloin strips, which I get from the Golden Cockerel factory, when I was buying them at the beginning before Christmas, when I knew that there was going to be a price increase later this year, but not a significant increase, but there has been a slight increase of $1. It's not a lot. I was paying $5 for 3 kilos, and it was usually 3 and a bit kilos, 3.5 kilos, thereabouts. So the soy binder, 3.5 kilos, tenderloin breast, and I'm only paying $5, which is about $1.30 odd a kilo. Now that price has gone up to $6 for the 3 kilos, so that's about $2 a kilo. However, they're still over 3 kilos. They're usually around the 3.5, if not more. So still very, very cheap in comparison to if you were to buy tenderloins, for example, at the grocery stores or a butcher or anywhere else for that matter. Even some of the other outlets, for example, are more expensive. So for me, you know, it's always going to be a thumbs up. The soy binder strips for me, able to be used that for making rissoles, for crumbing them, for doing so many different things. And it's a very economical meat, but you know, it's not lacking in nutrition and it's definitely not lacking in quality because it's basically been processed just a couple of days beforehand, and then we get it fresh, we prepare it and then put it in the freezer and use it throughout the year, saving this money for the rest of the year to be utilized in other areas that are better used than just spending it at the duopoly with all the markup prices. Alrighty, so that's my deli meat. Thought I'd show you that one. You'll see lots of different ones of these as we progress throughout the year. I haven't been using this so much because I've been making sausages and busy doing lots of other jobs as well, making all my seasoning mixes. But it's always handy just to pull out a little bit of older kitchen equipment, putting it to use again and making up some delicious meals and sharing it with you guys, because I don't know if you've ever seen this particular tool. I know they're still available because there's nothing special about them. You know, they've been around for a long time. But all you need to do is make sure you process the meat till you get to the right temperature, and that's pretty much it. Doesn't take up much space, don't need any special equipment or tools. You could buy the mince if you can get mince at different times of the year on sale. Say you happen to be down at the duopoly and you come across some mince for sale and you don't know what to do with it. That is an option. Instead of just plain mince, you can always use this in kebabs because the family absolutely love that as well. Alrighty, or wraps, lots of things. But it takes a simple meat and turns it into something delicious that you've got control of all of the different seasons and spices. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed seeing that little piece of kitchen equipment, and I'm sure I'll be sharing some more with you in the future. Thanks now. Bye now.